at the Beach Street Yacht Club, Studio B, and kind of a I was going to say a half-assed day. It's kind of a half-assed day here, Julia.
It is.
Raining on and off, but spring has sprung, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere. Welcome to our show, everybody. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, as many of you will know. Our Sailing Illustrated twice a week podcast, webcast. We appreciate everybody. We appreciate especially my co-host, Julia Vatican, Commodore of the Beach Street Yacht Club, longtime member of St. Francis Yacht Club, and I'm your host, Tom Eamon. Balboa Yacht Club I represent down in Newport Harbor, Newport Beach, California, but I'm a member of St. Francis and a few others as well. Great show for you today, show number 828 on Friday the 25th. Happy Friday. And happy Liberation Day for what top sailing nation and possible AC host, Julia?
Goodness, I don't know.
Well, that's one note that we're going to talk about. In memoriam, sad news about the passing earlier this week of a dear friend of Fosie's been on this show, Mikkel Thomason, sailor, journalist, leader in the sport in Scandinavia and beyond from Norway. A bit of a memoriam to him today on the show. 2028 Olympic venue, we have a disturbing development that may go beyond local LA politics. Coaching corner, John Emmett has sprung in Weymouth, where he reports in from today in the UK. French Olympic week in the air today, 4 medal races today. We'll report on those, and the rest are tomorrow, Saturday. And some nice athletes' stories, videos that are really very nice indeed. Feature today is the Ficker Cup, which is underway in Long Beach at Long Beach Yacht Club today, tomorrow, and Sunday. And, of course, it qualifies 2 teams into next week's 60th edition of the esteemed and venerable Congressional Cup. The 58th Governor's Cup, the youth version of the Congressional Cup, hosted annually by Balboa Yacht Club, they have released last night an impressive international field of invitees. We'll cover those for you. Alistair Murray's awesome Anzac Day Aussie anecdote, a somber song from his holiday home out in Meetung. And finally, the last leg, preview of the 52 Super Series, which kicks off next week, I believe in Saint-Tropez, doesn't it? Of course, day in history. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, our fantastic Fosie, and more, Julia.
We need more.
Are you ready to go?
Sure.
So let's start with this sad occasion. This guy's been on the show any number of times. We became friends. I don't believe we ever met in person, but I feel like he's my long-lost Norwegian brother. Gentleman journalist, as Magnus referred to him today in a fantastic post on his Rule 69 blog on Substack. Gentleman journalist, sailing loses one of the great gentleman journalists in Mikkel Thomason of Norway. He was, as I said, a passionate and terrific sailor. And as Magnus Wheatley said, Mikkel's enthusiasm for the sport of sailing was infectious. And he was never happier than when he sat chatting, gossiping, and getting the inside track on the latest developments, the politics behind the scenes, and much more, including the dynamics amongst the America's Cup teams. And most importantly, he wanted to know, this is a good point by Magnus, he wanted to know your opinion. He would come on the show, I'd be interviewing him, Julia, we'd be interviewing him, and he wanted to know what we thought.
Right.
We're trying to find out what he thought. Consummate journalist, consummate gentleman, Mikkel Thomason.
He was a really old-fashioned, wonderful gentleman.
Exactly. And terrific sailor, as we said, a sailor very much first and foremost. Mikkel knew one end of the boat to another better than most. He was an ever-present on the Norwegian yachting scene, and it was perhaps fitting that he passed away in Oslo earlier this week to a stroke while delivering his archives to the Royal Norwegian. His books. He's written a number of books, and his archives to the Royal Norwegian Yacht Club. Mm-hmm. To the very last, Mikkel was involved heavily with the Norwegian Sailing Association, where he was a board member, an influential board member at that, and vice chairman during the period 1980 to 1990. Couple of, Ted Ryman saying, I remember Mikkel on the show, R.I.P., and Mickle was the featured guest here 8 times on Sailing Illustrated between April of 2020 and 12th of October 2021. He may have appeared other times as a part of a panel, but those are the numbers as the featured guest, fully 8 times. Thanks, Clark Chapin, for that note. Nice note of condolence from Jamie Hutchison, sent this email in. So sad to hear of Mickle's passing. He was a voice in sailing that is now gone. I only knew him through you and Julia from SI and was always interested in his take on all things sailing. Thank you, Tom, for doing what you do, bringing people like Mickle to all of us, and it was a pleasure. Finally, this note from Gordon Smith came in this morning via email. Gordon, who's a Brit living in Denmark, of course. Some people follow a sporting tradition and others write about a sporting tradition. But Mickle, as well as being both of those, was someone who was an active and positive co-creator of the living Nordic sailing tradition, knowledgeable of its history and as well a co-creator of its present and future. Nicely put. He understood the importance of sport to society. He understood the values sail sport offers, as well as the simple pleasures it brings. And that from Gordon Smith. Thank you, Gordon, for that. Mickle Thomason, he will be missed, but especially by us. He helped us get through the whole madness with the World Sailing non-sailing CEO. Julia, remember that?
Absolutely.
And also he helped us get through the whole thing with the Croutonic president.
Yes.
Croutonic president. Yes. Mickle Thomason was 80 years old, 1945 to 2025. May he rest in peace. Oh, Julia, it makes me always sad and reflective when we miss somebody as cool as Mickle. Lose somebody as cool.
We've missed a whole sort of generation that's leaving us at that point.
Well, some of us are old.
Oh!
Alistair Murray, R.I.P. Mickle, a great man. Don Lunabo said, yeah, he was old school. You know, he was, but he was also quite progressive. He was quite modern and upbeat and lifting and uplifting. And others of you who will have watched him on the show will remember what a terrific guy he was. Greg Phillips checking in from Oz, a lot of others checking in. Welcome to all of you for our show number 828. Thank you for joining us as always. Bit of a venue update on the Long Beach Olympic venue for 2028, where we've been telling you about the Croutonic LA politicians, one in particular who's trying to get the LA City Council and LA 28 to move the venue from Long Beach to San Pedro.
Oh, gosh.
Long Beach, I'm not going to go through it all again, but Long Beach is correct. I can't find a sailor anywhere in the world who thinks that San Pedro, up by the prison and up the port of LA, is anywhere near as good as the venue in Long Beach where the Olympics were held in 84 and before that in 1932. And as correct as Long Beach is, this venue is Croutonic. And that is the port of LA. In San Pedro, please, if you haven't already, and I know some of you have because I've even seen some back and forth, some responses, please write to david.graham@sailing.org. He's the CEO of World Sailing, and for some reason, World Sailing's kind of dragging its feet or staying kind of a little wishy-washy.
We don't know why.
Yeah, maybe we do. Maybe we do, Julia. Just stand by here for a second.
There's a $sign to it.
As usual, right, you can follow the money, as usual, I think. But let's just see here. Here is another piece of that L.A. puzzle, and this is the board of directors of the L.A. Yacht Club we told you about on Tuesday, and their Commodore is, I don't know her, is a lady named Marjorie Irvin. I'm sure she has a heart of gold, but one hears that L.A. Yacht Club, who are in San Pedro, right there in the port, they are pushing very hard to have the venue up there with them instead of in the traditional and superb venue of Long Beach. So write her, if you're so inclined, Commodore at layachtclub.org. But wait, there's more. And I've started to put 2 and 2 together, and I think I may have come up with more than 4 here in the last even 12 hours. That is another look at the port of L.A., courtesy of the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, who reports that the Port of Los Angeles has significant ties, as does the Port of Long Beach for that matter, but the Port of Los Angeles in particular has significant ties to China through trade, investments, and infrastructure. Costco, a major Chinese shipping company, has a joint venture with other firms to operate the West Basin Container Terminal, better known in LA as the WBCT, at the port. This joint venture handles a substantial portion of the port's container traffic. Additionally, the Port of LA has a relationship with other Chinese ports, including Shanghai and Guangzhou, through MOUs, Memoranda of Understanding. And who, Julia, is the president of World Sailing?
David Graham?
No, he's the CEO. The president of World Sailing is Quan Hai Lee of...
Yes, China.
Ta-da! China.
Has he visited both ports?
I have no idea. But for some reason, World Sailing has gone very soft on the whole idea of this being in Long Beach instead of being upfront and out front, saying the sailors want Long Beach. It's easy. It should be a done deal. Tell the IOC, tell LA, tell everybody. For some reason, World Sailing is the most reticent about making this decision stick and final. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but Mr. Quan Hai Lee, the second term, he's in his second term of president, should be telling his CEO, we're going to support Long Beach because it's better for the sailors. It's better for the sport. It's better for the Olympics. And for all the reasons, I won't go into them again, that we've enumerated in the last 2 or 3 shows. And John Emmett, I don't know why you are also so kind of, I wouldn't call you anti-Long Beach, but you keep saying it's the organizing authority's decision. Well, the organizing authority is LA 28, and they have several times already said it's going to be in Long Beach, but for some reason, we still don't have a final decision confirmation from World Sailing. Mm-hmm. And Mr. Quan Hai Lee, you should make that stick and get that done once and for all. Enough of a rant from me.
All he really has to do is visit both venues, and he'd understand immediately.
Doesn't even have to do that. He just has to look at all the emails that he and David Graham are getting from sailors all over the world and listen to LA 28 and listen to everybody else involved and say, it's a done deal, it's Long Beach. And by the way, I suspect that's how this is going to play out, but it's now not just local politics. It appears to be international politics. Mm-hmm. Follow the money as well. Julia, there's something clinking and dinging over there. Is your watch or your phone? Me. Yeah, it is. Something. Okay. That's to kick off our show here, which is all about the Ficker Cup, which starts today. It's today, tomorrow, and Sunday down in Long Beach, which precedes next week's 60th Congressional Cup. But Julia, what are we celebrating today? And there's a clue on the top of that slide for you. And no, that's not the Mexican flag. No, it's not the Irish flag. Do you know that national flag?
Yes.
Today, the 25th of April, is the fiesta, we might say in Spanish, but in Italian, it's the Festa della Liberazione.
Aha.
It's the day of liberation, and that it was in and around April 25th, 1945, that the various towns in Italy were kicking out the Germans and the fascists and even the people within Italy who were supporting the Germans. But this is famous photo, it's all over the place, are partisans in Milano during the liberation of Italy. And as I said, either side of April 25th, which is why this date was chosen. And here is the video.
Is a public holiday in Italy, in Liberation Day. So what caused this, and why is it felt so deeply by Italians? Liberation Day, known as Festa della Liberazione, or just simply 25 Aprile, 25th of April, is a national holiday in Italy. It commemorates the victory of the Italian resistance movement and the Allies against Nazi Germany, the Italian Social Republic, which was a puppet state. It was the conclusion of the liberation of Italy from German occupation, the end of the Italian Civil War during World War II. This is completely and confusingly separate from the Republic Day, Festa della Repubblica, which takes place on the 2nd of June. So what happened? The war formally ended in Italy on the 2nd of May 1945. It ended German occupation, 5 years of war, and 23 years of fascist dictatorship in Italy. The Italian people were embittered towards its monarchy and its fascist regime, which had promised so much. Instead, war and disaster had spread across Italy. The future was bleak for both the Italian Fascist Party and the Italian monarchy. The Nazi and RSI forces surrendered to the Allied forces at Caserta on the 29th of April. The liberation of northern Italy took place in Bologna on the 21st of April, Genoa the 23rd of April, Milan the 25th of April, and Turin and Venice on the 28th of April. So why is this celebrated on the 25th of April? Well, actually, the 25th of April was chosen because it was the day the National Liberation Committee of Upper Italy, CLNAI, announced a general insurrection against all remaining Nazi and fascist forces in Italy.
Okay, you get the idea. It is Liberation Day in Italy, and we won't go into the details for the last minute of this video, but I thought since Italy, as I said in the show notes, is not only a great sailing nation and has been, well, since Cristobal Colombo, but I mean, it's been a great sailing nation in the Olympics, the America's Cup, Sail GP now and beyond, but it could be the next America's Cup venue. I'm not going to go into that today, but one is starting to hear that both France and Italy are in play for the next venue. And you can imagine why, because there's a French team and there is an Italian team. It looks like that will for sure be in the next cup along with the Kiwis, who of course are the defender. So I thought we should spend a little time celebrating Italy's Liberation Day. Yes, it's World Penguin Day, and yes, it's a few other things today. James Appel. Italia, we celebrate you today on your day of liberation, the 25th of April, dating from 1945, Julia.
Great.
Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, in doing this, I thought we'd spend a little more time on Italy because I came across this video this morning, and it said parasailer, and I thought, oh, okay, that's great. They're going to talk about parasailing, and, we're in a big push to get parasailing back in as a demonstration sport in 2032. But this video is not about that kind of parasailing at all. Have a look. Okay, it's in Italian, but you get the idea. This guy.
Parasailor New Generation. Lo vedete dentro di me? Una giornata fantastica davanti a Porto Venere. Vi racconto che cos'è Parasailor New Generation, quindi l'ultima versione. È una vela, lo vedete alle mie spalle, ma in realtà definirla vela è anche riduttivo. Quando parliamo di Parasailor conviene usare, secondo me, l'espressione sistema, perché sicuramente ha la forma, la grande potente forma di una vela ad andature portanti, ma in più ha un'ala. Quindi tutte le volte che parliamo di parasailor dobbiamo considerarlo un sistema che la cosa più interessante è che è tanto evoluto e complicato, diciamo così, dal punto di vista ingegneristico, dal punto di vista aerodinamico, tanto è semplice
you don't have to speak Italian to understand what he's saying, that how versatile this sail is. Now, whether it's fast or not is another interesting question, but you can see it's vented up there. I mean, we've seen kites like this before, dating all the way back to the, tell me what, the 30s.
Ma subito vi dico perché è facile da usare. Prima di tutto perché ha un angolo, un range di angolo di utilizzo praticamente sconfinato, dai 60 gradi,
60 to 180 degrees of apparent wind, he's saying, and the kite works well, is efficient. I don't know much more than that, but it's from Italy, where they're always thinking, and I thought we should cover that today. It comes from this gentleman, and it's called Parasailor New Generation La Vela Intelligente, I guess you would pronounce that in Italian. And there is the address if anybody wants to look into it. Lucas Sordelli at Vela Magazine featuring that today. We're also celebrating what, Julia?
Oh, Sailing Illustrated.
Our FOSI. Far and wide. Those of you especially who support us via patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated, we appreciate very much. Those of you who give us $1 or $2 or more per month to keep us intact.
Thank you.
And we even made it on the air today, Julia.
Oh, gosh. It was amazing.
We had some interesting developments here this morning. We don't need to go into that, but we did manage to make it on the air. And next Tuesday...
With 30 seconds to spare.
Yeah, barely. Next Tuesday, who's that, Julia?
Dawn Riley.
Dawn Riley will be our guest next Tuesday. She, of course, is the esteemed executive director of Oak Cliff. She was going to come on and tell us about her calendar. Remember that last time she was on the show.
Right.
She told us about her Oak Cliff calendar, which is covering all the events of any magnitude in the world, because World Sailing doesn't do such a calendar. There's a couple of magazines that do similar, but she's really put the effort into this, and it looks pretty good. So live guests, Dawn Riley. Yes, they're the best, John Emmett, totally agree. She will be our guest Tuesday. And I suspect, Julie, we'll also get her to talk a little bit about the Olympics.
I should hope so.
About what just happened, the wrap-up here, which we're about to give you, but what's gone on in these first 2 pre-Olympic regattas and her support and other support for the U.S. team, which, by the way, is having a little bit better go.
It does.
As we reported on Tuesday. And maybe we'll get her to comment as well about the America's Cup, of which she was, as far as I know, the only female general manager of a team in the history of the Cup.
Yes.
Back in 2007 in Valencia, as well as having raced in it and so on and so forth. Joe Holtzman is checking in from Estes Park, Colorado, speaking of FOSI. And Blake Middleton, who gives us a few bucks each month. We deeply appreciate it. Rock on for a show with Dawn next week. And as John is saying, yeah, it's definitely better to have live ones than dead ones. No disrespect to Mikkel Thomason, who was a fantastic guest.
Yes.
Clark Chapin says the 8 times or so that he was on. That'll be next Tuesday. Dawn Riley will be with us. And that brings us to our regular feature. Speaking of John Emmett, of the Coach's Corner. And John is reporting in from his hometown, or now hometown, his adopted hometown of Weymouth. In the UK, our Super Fozy John Emmett with the Coaching Corner.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy, and a special welcome to any new watchers on Sailing Illustrated. For those people who haven't seen a Coaching Corner before, my name's John Emmett, and it's quite a sad show today, and it's always difficult to do these things, the camera, and it's a tragedy. We've lost Mikkel, who's been a great contributor to the sport, but actually in recent times we've lost a lot of people who've not only been really good for the sport, but just genuinely nice people who I would be very happy to spend a dinner with and to go out for drinks and chat and put the worlds to right. And you know, it's a very sad time, and it seems to have happened a lot recently. This is probably only the start of 2025, and I was sort of thinking, what sort of year is it? And even though it's only April, I think 2025 is probably the year of the lawyer, which is, yeah, in my eyes, not a good thing. For the people who've been watching for the last few years, you'll know that my forte is probably the Olympic sailing, and this is something I'm deeply worried about. You know, a shorter format, say, you know, just 3 days of racing and a medal race is not gonna provide the worthy winner that you'll get with a much longer series. And you know, for me, I think it's important in media that we showcase our sport, we tell the story, tell everything about our heroes, promote the sport, but we shouldn't alter the sport to make it easier for the media. And for me, I think that the most important thing is after 4, 8, 12 or even more years of hard work, that the person who is performing the best is the person who's standing at the top of the podium. And you know, sailing, it's an expensive sport to put in the Olympic Games, and I do get that, and I hope that, you know, all of us can do our little bit in the background to promote sailing. I mean, it looks at the moment like the whole schedule's going to be moving forward, so sailing might even start their racing, you know, before the opening ceremony, just to squeeze that, because you know, we're not like a track sport where you sort of just turn up and go running. Sailors, we want to be there at the venue early, learn the conditions, get used to what to expect for the next day. And, you know, there's a lot of things which go with it. And I think for me, probably the longer term program I see is this sort of fly, do a regatta and fly back. Now, you know, there's all course of debate and all the rest of it about the fuel used for airplanes and all the rest of it and being an environmental sport. But in terms of making it accessible, actually dragging boats, whether that's dinghies or bigger boats all around the world, it's quite difficult. So I think we've got a lot to think about. And I said with the Olympics, one of the key things for me when encouraging participation, in fact, the first thing I try and do is discourage. You know, because if you're not really keen to take the cover off the boats in the first 6 months, you're not going to be very keen after 60 months and you still haven't got a medal and have to keep on going. But one of the key things is if you put in the hard work, you're going to get the reward. And that's why you don't want major medals just coming down to chance. SoCal's GP, I see it as a different thing. And, you know, there's lots of events and, you know, winner's the person who wins the last race. That's fine for that. For Olympics, I feel very differently. Young people are literally giving away the best years of their life, that golden years. So to have a shorter series and shorter races, I mean, anyone who's done ultra races will tell you after 25-30 minutes the race is definitely not over and there's still plenty of opportunity for place changing. It's not like some of the other classes where perhaps the first mark is almost the end of the race, because from that point it's just up to them to lose. So yeah, with the Olympics, you know, moving it forward, shortening the length of races, reducing the number of races. Sadly, I think these are all bad things for the sport, but it is what it is, and we need to make the most of it, and hopefully we'll be able to start promoting 2028 and 2032 in due course when there's a little bit more certainty. I'm sure teams are already starting to try and work out, you know, what conditions to expect and how they can perform. And I think, you know, we're lucky that there's such a variety of things in sailing. You know, it's almost a different sport, isn't it? You know, sailing a 2.4 and foiling, and I think the para is something very close to my heart. But I do wonder if they need a more suitable boat. I mean, having looked at the Hansas and the 2.4s and all the boats that we have at the moment, they've all got some weaknesses that I think perhaps we could solve. And the America's Cup, and I said I think 2025 is probably the year of the lawyer. The 2025 situation at the moment, it's very difficult, and I want to focus on the racing rather than the stuff which is going on in the background, which I assume is more about, you know, money and design rights and all the rest of it. But the America's Cup does bring technology to the sport, and I think I've got this right, that Velcro, you know, was actually a necessity of invention for when people went to space. And I think the technology that we learn from the offshores can come back and help us build more robust boats. The technology from the AC can come back and help us look at, you know, more high technology dinghies and just how, you know, we can make foiling more accessible. So here's a little design that I thought was quite interesting. You know, you need to take it with a pinch of salt when I say, you know, it sort of reminds me of a America's Cup boat. But the idea is to have, you know, designs that will be perfectly capable of sailing in non-foiling conditions. So that's sort of Wednesday evening type racing, which I love. And also something that's capable and robust to sail in 30 knots. So I think, you know, we can't stop progress. But what we can do, well, if you can't help, get out of the way. But if you can help, let's think how we can make the sport better for everybody, especially for those people who are new to watching Sailing Illustrated. Comments very, very welcome. I think it's a very broad church of watchership, and that's such an important thing. And I hope now for those people in the Northern Hemisphere that the weather is improving, certainly is in Weymouth. So sail fast, sail safe, and keep having fun. Bye for now.
John Emmett Sailing, get to the front of the fleet. Julia, you and I were sitting here nodding our heads through much of that, weren't we?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, I think he covered the waterfront, SoCal's GP, America's Cup, parasailing, the Olympics, and good report, and even got a video stuck in there for the first time. I don't remember him inserting a video in his Well, as always, much appreciated, John Emmett. John Emmett Sailing. Get to the front of the fleet. Julia, you had something to add?
No, I was just thinking about how much we say the same things all the time, and there's not as much progress as I'd like to see.
Well, good point. Good point. Ted Ryman's saying, I totally agree with John. I'm all for tech breakthroughs, cool report. And again, there was something, I think John's spot on. There was something about sailing 7 races that we used to do in the Olympics. It was something about everybody sailing together at the same time, not having half of the Olympics.
Right.
And the other staggering it for television. I get that. The medal races, when you do all this and then it comes down to one medal race and you might have been dominating all week and then have a bad start or a bad piece of luck or something in the medal race and then it's tough luck, Charlie.
Does that happen in any other way in other sports?
Well, the argument is that you take the 100-yard dash, for example.
You don't do it 4 times.
Yeah, exactly. You don't do it 4 times and add your scores up. You have to qualify through the various heats in the semifinal. And then you get a field of, 8, 9, 10 people, and then they all do it, and you got to win that 100-yard dash. Well, the truth is, there is not much external impact on your running of the 100-yard dash. It's not like there's a wind shift. It's not like there's, on the starting line, you're standing start, everybody's fairly even. If not, they do everything they can do to make that standing start as equal as possible. And then they don't have all the various fluxes and inputs and what's the word I want?
Nature.
And luck, pieces of luck that go into our sport, which is why, it's why our professional sports, basketball, hockey, baseball, come down to a best of 7 series, first to win 4. The only exception is football, but that's because that sport's so brutal. You can only do one football game and the winner take all.
Yeah.
But and who knows? Okay, enough of all that. John Emmett, thank you very much for your report. And just by the way, as we always like to say at the end of John's reports, we're doing everything we can. We hope you're helping to get parasailing reinstated for Brisbane 2032. It won't be a regular parasport. We won't get sailing back in except as a demonstration event, demonstration sport. And we hope you Aussies are doing everything you can do to persuade Brisbane, the organizers there, to put our beloved sport in as a para sport 2032. Gordon Smith, lots of sports, athletics, equestrian, etc. punish a bad day at the office at a final. Yeah, but we don't need to do that. We used to not do it. And by the way, as several of you are pointing out in the chat, Julie, they're asking, have all these machinations, all these changes to our format of Olympic sailing improved the viewership? And the answer is no. And not only that, then they run the sport for the medal races. They try to run it right up against the shore when the wind is really shifty and puffy and crotonic in terms of providing a fair and kind of equal race course. And it really adds to the luck factor a lot. John Emmett, we also need to remember sailing numbers classes are not confirmed for 2032. Yeah, we know that. And John's right. We don't want even fewer races and shorter races, and we don't want fewer classes. And we know the IOC is always putting pressure on the governing bodies, the world federations for the various sports. And we don't want world sailing to get crosswise with the IOC, but sometimes you got to take the Paul Henderson approach, which is to go in there to Juan Antonio Samaranch when he was president of the IOC and say, I want the star back in the Olympics. And it's good for our game. It's good for our sport. It's good for the games. Put it back in. And Samaranch did. There was some back and forth and, Blake Middleton, everyone, please support getting parasailing back in the Oz Olympics. And again, if we don't get parasailing in, it seems to feel like we're maybe on a bit of a slippery slope for sailing in general for the Olympics beyond 2032. And people will say, oh, no, we're one of the core sports, one of the original sports. We're the sport of royalty like equestrian and a few others. But you know what? So I understand world sailing's a bit between a rock and a hard spot here. Unfortunately, cost per athlete for sailing is very high at the Olympics. Well, let's not choose classes that are so damn expensive.
Yes.
Let's choose classes that are way more robust, that can last like the Finn class did, or even the Star class from quadrennium to quadrennium. Mm-hmm. Ben Remacher, who is very involved in the Olympics, particularly in the NACRA 17 classes in the 49er and the 49er FX. What impacts the viewership is the number of countries that are able to win a medal. Those countries pick up the broadcast to join the hunt for the medal. Medal races are horrible. Many fewer nations will watch. Yeah, medal, like a couple of the events already are decided in France right now. We'll tell you about that in a moment. Ben is saying we need to provide excitement to the games or we'll be dropped. And again, one of the great excitements of a 7-race series like we used to have, and the fewer throwouts you have, there is excitement because every race counts, and you might be in first place with a 5-point, 10-point, tell me what lead going into the last race. And if every race counts and everybody's racing, the whole fleet of 20 plus boats is racing, and you might finish 10th or 12th to the second place boat who wins the race.
Right.
And you drop from first to second. Everybody's in the hunt. Plus, if the whole fleet sails in that last race, not just the top 10 boats, you got way more countries watching.
Yes, that's always true. Yeah,
we can argue this, and we have for years. Mark Holland, hello, Mark, is saying that is why a 30 nautical mile triangular course from the original Deed of Gift was a brilliant test of sailing. John Emmett's agreeing with Ben Remacher. And Fritz Mueller's arguing for, down in Miami, he is, down for amateur build classes. But we got to bring the cost of these classes down. There's no question about that, Julia.
That's true. I was also thinking, I've suffered through 3-hour sailboat racing that was really dull.
Well, fair enough. But if you have good television coverage, and you have anybody can win, or a lot of people can win in that last race, it's more interesting, I hope. Let's don't debate the Olympics today. The laser is rugged, robust, and reliable. Just watch stupidity set in. And yeah, John Emmett's arguing, although Ben Remacher agrees with me that no drops are needed, but John is saying, well, you got failures do happen in dinghies. You need a discard for gear failure. But you know what? If you know that you have no discard, you start more conservatively. You don't take rules chances. You don't try to cross in a port starboard when you're going to say, hey, I better not risk getting disqualified or having to take a penalty because in a close port starboard.
Right.
And I'll be sure my equipment is more robust.
Otherwise,
I might lose a race. And let's don't go further than that. We all know that there's pros and cons to all this stuff. And we'll keep debating it as we go forward. But we're locked in place for 2028, except for the venue, which ought to be right off this pier in Long Beach. Again, right to David Graham, right to Quan Hai Lee. I don't know if he'll read your English or whatever the language you're writing to him in, but there's something going on at the world sailing level which does not smell right to me.
He may be getting
Pressure. He might be, but that doesn't make it right for our sport.
That's correct.
It should be the venue for 20. And here we are 3 years before the venue, before the Olympics. This is now April of 2025, and it's going to be in July, August of 2028, or just 3 years and a couple months. And we don't know the venue for sure? Give me a break. We should have known it 8 years out. We did know it 8 years out. We knew it was going to be Long Beach, and now local politicians are trying to change it. It's a tragedy for the sailors on a lot of different fronts. Okay, speaking of Olympics, let's go to France and to the French Olympic Week hier, which wraps up tomorrow, the 26th, started on the 19th. They had qualifying rounds starting on Monday of this week through today, and they had some medal races also today for the IQ foil and the Formula Kite. They had 4 of them. We'll tell you the winners in a moment. And then tomorrow they have the medal races for the ILCAs, the 49er, the NACRA 17, the 470s, and then tomorrow night the awards ceremony and closing ceremony in Hyères in France. And day 5 today, what's happened? 4 nail-biting medal series finals took place. China wins 2 golds and a silver. Israel won the women's IQ foil, nipping the Chinese. The Chinese would have had another medal. That silver would have been a gold. In fact, Israel had 5 in the top 7 of the women's IQ foil.
Wow.
As we said, the 470, the Ilka's 6 and 7, NACRA 17, 49er, and the 49er FX medal races tomorrow. But the 470 and the Ilka 7 golds are already decided. So here we have a medal race, and it's supposed to be, okay, here we go. Let's watch it intensively to see who wins the medals. But because one team has already done so well in both the 470 and the Ilka 7, they have to sail, or else under the rules you get disqualified and lose a bunch of points.
Right.
But they don't have to do jack you know what tomorrow in order to still medal and to win, in fact. Okay, so what happened today? On a day of high pressure in all senses. It was lightish today, meaning high pressure weather system. And drama in all the medal races. Team power and individual brilliance produced some of the closest board finals. Notice they're calling these boards now, both the kites and the IQ foils. I guess they are boards. The closest board finals in e-air history. There in the upper left, Wan Li from China won the kiting men's. In the upper right, Riccardo Pianozzi from Italy won. No, I beg your pardon. Wan Li's a female. And then Riccardo Pianozzi won the kiting men. And then down the lower left, Tamar Steinberg of Israel won the IQ foil women. And then Kunbi, I guess it's Kunbi, not Kunbai, Kunbi from China won the men's IQ foil, or so it was.
Look at his muscles. Wow.
Well, yeah, and you got to be fit, as Emmett's been telling us. You got to be fit in these classes, and ever more so. These are tough boats to sail. Now, good news for the U.S. This is Charlotte Rose from the USA. Charlotte is leading, believe it or not, leading the Ilka 6 going into Saturday's medal race. Not a big lead, but she's got a bit of a lead. We're also, the U.S. is second in the 49er, fourth in the FX, Hankin and Scott, which is good news as well, and ninth in the FX men. Sorry, in the foiling kite men. But Charlotte Rose doing well, and bravo Zulu to her. We've been telling you now for years, she's kind of come up through the 420 scene. She and her sister have been sailing together and winning various events. And this is good news for U.S. sailing.
Yes,
she is supported, by the way, by America One Racing, not by U.S. Sailing, according to what I read. And
that's right.
Yeah. Now, World Sailing put out a video, Julia, and it's today. You can see that when I pulled that off, did a screen grab, that it says 1 hour ago. Well, that was 1 hour ago at about 10 o'clock this morning, our time. So on the penultimate day of the e-air regatta, they put out a 11-minute video about the Trofeo Princesa Sofia regatta, which happened 3 weeks ago. World Sailing, what are you thinking? Why are you just now getting that video out, for goodness sakes? However, having said that, please be more prompt and, push the thing out the following couple days after the regatta's over. But what they are doing, and I love it, first I've seen of these, maybe I've missed them in the past, but they're doing these these videos from these regattas called athletes portraits, or they're featuring the athletes. And there are 3 of them out. I'm only going to play 2 of them, but I think they're terrific, and bravo Zulu World Sailing for this approach to your videos.
My name is Paris Hankin.
My name is Helena Scott.
And we sail the 49er FX. Helen and I actually sailed together at the Rio 2016 Olympics. We're really excited to be partnered back up. I've been doing this for the past 3 campaigns now, and she's actually my sister-in-law, so it's a family affair. And that makes it even more better, honestly.
Hans is a very experienced 49er crew, and he won a bronze medal with Ian Barrows at the Paris Olympics. So we've been fortunate to have him coaching us in Palma, and then also here in the coach boat here and here. Being sister-in-law, it's all about that unconditional support. Like, I just want the best for Paris as a person.
We have a special bond, so it's great and it's fun.
In the last 8 years, Paris has done a ton of 49er FX sailing, and then I've had a lot of different experiences. So I feel like together we're bringing a lot of experiences, and that's making us a lot stronger of a team than we were the first time around. So we're running it back, and we're excited for a home games a few years down the road. Lots of work to go.
Hello, my name is Pavlos Kontides. I'm Ilka 7 sailor from Cyprus, and we are here in Years for the second version of the Sailing Grand Slam. In my sail, definitely was really special for me, winning the second silver medal for myself and for my country. What made it really unique is that my family was there, my wife, my son, my wider family, my friends. So it was very emotional to come back and find all of them and hug them. So that was really unique for me, especially. I already did 5 Olympic Games. Now this is my last campaign. I'm the only Olympic medalist from my country in all sports, in all history. And this is a unique privilege. It's a sweet responsibility to have towards the youth. A lot of people look towards me and they get inspiration. And I don't only compete for myself, but for the people who work with me, my whole nation and all the Cypriots. So that's very special.
Now, aren't those cool
That's
videos?
nice. Yes.
And I've got 2 more athletes featured, athlete stories. What do they call them? Athlete stories?
Yeah.
I like it. And you see there's a new logo there on the right is the SGS, the Sailing Grand Slam, which these events, now this is the second of, I believe, 5 Sailing Grand Slams for the year. And this is World Sailing's latest approach to what used to be the World Cup and the various things. Mm-hmm. And John Emmett agrees they're great videos. I think most of you will agree. And okay, let's look at another one because Bravo Zulu.
Hello, my name is Lucia Falasca. I'm an Ilka sailor from Argentina. I was lucky I was in the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. It was my 3rd time at the Olympics. This time I really enjoyed it. Like compared with Tokyo, it was completely different. Even though it was my 3rd Olympic, you keep like amazing every time. You have to think different if you want to achieve different results, because of course I want to improve and get better. Actually, I'm very happy with the team I made the last Olympics, so I'm really focusing on the team and just to know each other and know what we have to do. So now we know it's 4 years, it's going to be a long time and long process, and we have to work in different things each year. I've been traveling since I'm very young. Like I started in Optimism in the South America when I was 13 in Niterói, Brazil also. So I'm kind of used to it, like to travel around the world and being far from my family. But I'm also lucky because my boyfriend, that is also my physical coach and is helping me managing the whole campaign, is traveling with me. So of course, it's easier, right?
The Olympic was a great experience. We were dreaming about the Olympics since I am young, so it was very nice. But obviously we didn't have the medal, so we are missing a bit of the Olympics. So that's why we decided to go for another campaign with R1, my helm, for LA 2028. So 4 years is a long campaign, so we only take a few months off. But then we said, yeah, we love sailing, we want to continue as much as we can, so yeah, let's do it. Of course, we need to be more competitive, we need to sail a lot on the boat, but as well we need to deal with the family, friends, because it's very important as well in our Olympic project. So, and especially this year because R1 is away from the 49er because he will be daddy in the next few days or few weeks. It's very soon. So yeah, it will be something new as well for our team. Yeah, we just need to talk a lot with R1 just to make sure that everybody is happy about the way that we need to sail this campaign.
Yeah, Gordon Smith, I really enjoy the sailor portraits. Much better reporting with a personal angle than repeated big event reports, weather, fabulous location, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Agreed. Blake agrees. We all agree. And I think, Julia, World Sailing ought to hire John Emmett to go produce this kind of stuff at every regatta. John has gotten so good at getting in with featuring the sailors. And it's even, you don't even have to have John in the shot. He does it sometimes interviewing with his little mic back and forth. But this format, and then the good lower thirds with the added information down there in the bottom, in what we call lower thirds, but in the credits at the bottom. Good stuff, good information, and feature sailors. Russell Coots has always been pushing hard to feature the sailors. And I think he in the America's Cup, he was more worried about the sailors than the owners and some of the others, like, the designers and some of the other, the fabric of the America's Cup, the personalities that make the America's Cup so wonderful and rich. I think that's okay in the America's Cup, but here in the Olympics, more we can do about featuring the sailors in these kinds of videos, like Bo Outeridge does. I mean, the Australians say, we keep talking about this, Sailing Australia, Australian Sailing, they send Bo Outeridge with the team to take photos, to help with the press releases, and then to take videos.
Yeah.
And they can send them home to sponsors, they can send them home to the yacht clubs, they can send them home to the home country media.
And they can send them to us.
And of course, we'll find them on YouTube.
Right.
I'm about as good as anybody, thanks to the help I get from a lot of you, at finding videos and curating them for this show, and hopefully giving you the more interesting ones, and not running the ones or running in shorter form the ones that are not so interesting. Mm-hmm. Good stuff. These are great videos. Ryman agrees. Ted, thank you. It's nice to see the sailors' stories up close. Yeah. It's like, Julia, in this country, when ABC, way back in the, 70s, had that show, what was the name of the show? It opened with the thrill of victory, and it was Wide World of Sports. ABC every Saturday. This was before the internet. And we all watched that show because we didn't know but we didn't know anything about a lot of the sports that were featured, although they would sometimes feature the America's Cup and Olympic sailing, but they'd feature interesting people. The thrill of victory and the
agony of defeat.
The agony of defeat. That poor skier was coming down the ski jump or something, or the slalom hill, and he wipes out and he goes into the crowd and his skis are going every which way. Fantastic stuff. We need more of that. World Sailing, hire John Emmett or Bo Outeridge, and U.S. Sailing, do the same thing. Get some videographer, photographer to go with the team and send stuff back. Chris actually agreeing, Wide World of Sports was so cool. Everything from ski jumping to bear hunting. Pre-internet. Yeah, good stuff. Okay, shall we talk about this day in history, Julia?
Of course.
Let's do this day in history, the 25th of April, 1915. We're going to cover this because it's a big day, somber day in Australia and New Zealand. And of course, we're talking about Anzac Day in Gallipoli. Gallipoli or Gallipoli, depending upon how you want to pronounce that. Tragic few months there. 1915, this is the now called Anzac Cove, where Australia and New Zealand troops, among other countries, landed at Gallipoli in Turkey. And it was an awful military campaign lasting 8 months. The Battle of Gallipoli pitted British, New Zealand, Australian, French, Indian, and Canadian forces against the Ottoman Turk Empire, which had sided with Germany in World War I. The plan was simple. From the Mediterranean, sail gunships up the narrow Dardanelles Strait, which separated Europe from Asia and served as the gateway to the Ottoman capital of Constantinople, now today Istanbul. This would give the Allies control of access to the Black Sea. Well, it was a disaster, many of the ships being damaged or sunk by Ottoman cannon and mines. Then came Plan B. The Allies would invade by land instead of in the greatest amphibious campaign the world had seen. But the heavily armed Turks were entrenched in their positions in the cliffs overlooking the beaches, and thousands of Allied soldiers were killed on the first day. The front lines never moved more than a few hundred meters from the beach in 8 months of fighting. Officially, the dead included 2,700 Kiwis, 8,700 Aussies, 9,700 French, 21,000 Brits, and 80,000 Turkish soldiers. So by the time this 10-month First World War campaign ended, about 120,000 men had died, and the wounded numbered around 260,000. The Australian Department of Veterans Affairs put the figures even higher, recording nearly 500,000 casualties for all concerned. It also cost Winston Churchill his job as First Lord of the Admiralty. He had masterminded the campaign and served as its chief public advocate, so he was sacked when the British Parliament needed a scapegoat. Historians say that the one bright spot for the Allies was the contribution of the Australians and the New Zealanders, who particularly distinguished themselves on the battlefield. They served together in the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps, Anzac. The beach where they landed became known as Anzac Cove, and the Turks were never able to take it. Every April 25th since is Anzac Day in Australia and New Zealand, a day of remembrance and national holiday. Their Memorial Day, really, in both countries. It is the day that Anzac forces landed in Gallipoli. And this was 110 years ago this year, Julia. Hard to believe. So this is the 25th of April, lest we forget Anzac Day down under in Australia and New Zealand, their somber Memorial Day. And here's the video.
Our correspondent Jack Nyhoff is live at New Zealand's National War Memorial in Wellington. Jack, the Kiwi leader is in Gallipoli as New Zealanders attend dawn services.
Pete, it's the first time in a decade that the New Zealand Prime Minister has commemorated Anzac Day in Gallipoli. Christopher Luxon travelling there. Around 1 in 6 of those who served on Gallipoli were New Zealand soldiers, and it was an incredibly significant time for New Zealand's development, sending soldiers to the other side of the world to fight in the war effort, signalling that New Zealand was becoming a distinct nation in its own right. Now, more than 100 years later, New Zealanders have commemorated those actions of their ancestors at dawn services right across the country, including here in the capital at Wellington at the National War Memorial. Some distinct features of the commemorations here in New Zealand included a traditional Maori welcome, a waiata, traditional singing. The poppy is also a very prominent symbol for Anzac Day here in New Zealand, but also Australia and Australians were commemorated here as well. The national anthem was sung along with the New Zealand national anthem, and there was representatives from our government and our Defence Force. There were also Australians among the crowd, including veterans as well. I spoke to one Australian veteran who had brought his children here this morning. It's the first time that they had attended an Anzac Day dawn service. Of course, this comes in a backdrop of changing times in New Zealand. Recently, the country's just doubled defence spending as well, and the Prime Minister has talked about a shift from a rules-based system to power. So among the reflections from the people that I spoke to was the importance of peace and also the price of peace and war. Pete?
Okay, Jack, thank you.
Okay, that video courtesy of Sky News Australia. Last year, we actually talked about more of the Australian side of Anzac Day and the commemoration that the Aussies go through in virtually every town in Australia, right out to Perth and so on. And speaking of Aussies commemorating Anzac Day, we have a special AAAA from Alistair, and here it is because he's out in Meetong. And he went in Meetong, this little holiday pueblo village where he has his home, and filed this report for us today. First, I'm going to, before I play his video, play you some slides he also sent, but this is to give you an idea where it is. It's about a 3.5 hour drive east of Melbourne. We tell you that, but I'm not sure I've ever shown you on the map where Meetong is, out there on the water where Alistair has his holiday home. And he wrote in saying, "Dear Tom, Julia, and all the FOSI, today is a special day," meaning Friday, in Australia and New Zealand. Anzac Day is a national day of remembrance in Australia and New Zealand, of course, that commemorates all Australians and New Zealanders who served and died in all wars, conflicts, and peacekeeping operations, not just World War I, and the contribution and suffering of all those who have served. Observed on the 25th of April each year, Anzac Day was originally devised to honor the members of that ANZAC, the Australian New Zealand Army Corps, who served in the Gallipoli campaign. their first engagement in the First World War. It has become a more and more significant day as younger Australians have embraced the importance of it. I am in Meetong for the Anzac service this year, shown here on the beautiful Village Green. And these are photos that he sent in. You can see it's a quiet little town, but nonetheless, flag at half-mast, military veterans presumably, or maybe present service.
Everybody has a relative who was
involved, no doubt. No doubt. As we said, it is Memorial Day in effect. And Alistair says, my most memorable Anzac Day was in 2006. I was actually in the USA and Ronstand threw a party to celebrate the opening of our new office in Newport, Rhode Island. We held the function with over 100 guests at the Airsoft Museum up in Bristol. The significance of the day being Anzac Day, or perhaps it was the effects of the alcohol, led me singing the Australian anthem called "And the Band Played Waltzing Matilda." He sang it to the crowd there at the Airsoft Museum with apologies to its author, Eric Bogle. It in turn led to this article published in Cruising World magazine, who were quite amazed that somebody would sing a song, a somber song like this. Mm-hmm. And the headline, CEO sings a different tune, and it was featured in Cruising World, which is the sister publication, or was in those days, to Sailing World magazine. And a nice tribute to Alistair, who wasn't afraid to, commemorate this on the day just because he happened to be in the US of A. And he went on to say, so here I am all these years later, can't sing, can't remember the words, which I used to know by heart, having a go at it again to give you the flavor, albeit with a verse or two missing. Enjoy and try not to laugh, which is the last thing. In fact, you're going to have a tear in your eye after you see this video from Alistair.
G'day, Tom, Julia, and all the Fosey. This is Alistair with AAAA. Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote. On Anzac Day, here in beautiful Meetong, as you can see by this bush setting behind me, I'm going to do something completely different for you today. It might surprise you. Hopefully I don't spoil Anzac Day for all the Australians. Here we go. When I was a young man, I carried a pack and I lived the free life of a rover. From the Murray's Green Basin to the dusty outback, I waltzed my Matilda all over. Then in 1915, my country said, son, there's no time for rambling, there's work to be done. So they gave me a tin hat and they gave me a gun and they sent me away to the war. And the band played Waltzing Matilda as the ship pulled away from the quay, and amidst the cheers, the flag waving in tears, we sailed off for Gallipoli. How well I remember that terrible day when our blood stained the sand and the water, and how in that hell that they called Suvla Bay, we were butchered like lambs at the slaughter. Johnny Turkey was ready, he'd primed himself well, showered us with bullets, and rained us with shell, and in 5 minutes flat, he'd blown us to hell, nearly blew us back home to Australia. And the band played Waltzing Matilda, and we stopped to bury the slain. We buried ours, and the Turks buried theirs, and we started all over again. And now every April, I sit on my porch, and I watch the parade pass before me. I see my old comrades, how proudly they march, renewing their dreams of past glories. The old men march slowly, their bones stiff and sore, tired old men from a forgotten war. And when the young people ask, what are they marching for? I ask myself the same question. And the band plays Waltzing Matilda, and the old men still answer the call. But year after year, those old men disappear. Soon no one will march there at all. Waltzing Matilda, Waltzing Matilda, you'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. And his ghost may be heard as he passes by that billabong. You'll come a Sing Matilda with me. There you go. I'll send you some words to tell you a bit about Anzac Day as well. Cheers, folks. We'll enjoy our holiday here and looking forward to the show. Bye.
No, that was special.
Yes.
That was, Alistair, thank you very much. It's been 110 years since that tragic occasion, but there's been a lot of Croutonicism in the meantime. We just wonder what the hell possesses people.
Yes, wonder.
Left, right, and center to,
I know.
The stuff that goes on. Ben Hall was there when Alistair sang this moving song. He was there in, what was it, I can't remember what year it was, back then, when he sang it in Bristol at the Hairsoft Museum. Bagpipes, banjos, I see a theme developing here. Yeah. Sad, very moving. Gordon Smith agrees.
Absolutely.
Terrific. Ted Ryman agrees. Julia, he agrees with you. It is important to remember Anzac Day and those that gave their lives for others so that the stupidity of war does not keep repeating itself. Sadly, I think it will. That's Peter Stevenson, an Aussie, Pedro foiling sailor. Alan Long, Alistair watched the movie On the Beach. You'll remember the words to Waltzing Matilda. Thanks for this. Love the sentiment. Ken Sabin, Toledo, Ohio. Hi, guys and gals. He's just checking in from Toledo, Ohio, usually. Chris Exley, that's what makes this show so great. Exactly right, Pedro. Well,
yep.
Julia, we're lucky to have people like Alistair and everybody watching, and you.
Absolutely.
Man's humanity to man, Joe Holtzman is saying, yeah. There's another Aussie, Andrew Dolly DeVola, one of the only days I get up at 5 a.m., and let's let his comment wrap this up for us, lest we forget. Alistair Murray's AAAA for Friday, the 25th of April. Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, you go waltzing Matilda with me. Thank you, Alistair. I said, it'd bring a tear to my eye even.
Me too.
Nice stuff. Great people. And thank you very much again, Alistair. AC 38 Cup date. This is short. We're at 14:07, so we're an hour and 7 minutes into the show. We're getting to the America's Cup. And I have a very short report because there's been crickets. There's really been nothing. I have a suspicion I know what's going on. Not going to say any more about that until next week. Maybe we'll get more from Dawn. Maybe she knows a thing or two, and she's our guest on next Tuesday's show. But suffice to say, this trustee, the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron, is the worst trustee in the history of the sport. They allowing Mr. Dalton to take the cup for him to run it. He's become the de facto trustee. And yeah, you can blame him for what he's doing, but it's the squadron who have made a hash of this, and they deserve the shame and the blame. The Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron. Okay, enough of that. We're going to bury them. This is just Croutonicism in a major way that's going on. Julia,
sir,
let's get to happier things here.
I'm ready.
Including the feature of today's show, which is the Ficker Cup and then the Con Cup. It's underway in Long Beach, California. Started today, the 25th. This is a report from yesterday. 8 international match racing teams will prepare to do battle at the Ficker Cup this weekend, Friday through Sunday. An official qualifying event of the World Match Racing Tour, hosted by Long Beach Yacht Club, of course, as well as the Ficker Cup trophy at stake. The top 2 place teams will earn an invitation to next week's 60th anniversary of the Long Beach Yacht Club Congressional Cup, joining a world-class lineup of 8 skippers already announced, including defending champion Chris Poole, can he three-peat, and past winner Yanni Berntsen from Sweden. After the final of the Ficker Cup on Sunday, there will be a 1-day break before registration and practice sessions for the 60th anniversary Con Cup on Tuesday. April, 29 April, followed by racing from the 30th through the 4th. The event will be televised live on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of May via YouTube and other social media channels. Racing in the Ficker Cup this weekend is a surprisingly strong, maybe you might say unusually strong field, but some would argue with that. But Nicole Briot here from our club, Julia, from the St. Francis. Maxime Maznil from France, Cormac Murphy from the USA, Aurélien Piros from France, Pearson Potts, originally from New Orleans, now representing the New York Yacht Club, Ryan Siago, also from the U.S., Zach West from Australia. We know Zach, who's a Gov Cup alum, terrific sailor, and Peter Wickwire down from Canada. Great field of 8, and we'll see which of those 2 will matriculate to the Congressional Cup starting on Wednesday. The Con Cup, the 2024 Congressional Cup winning skipper Chris Poole of the USA returns with his Riptide Racing team in pursuit of a 3rd consecutive Con Cup title and yet another Crimson Blazer, a record previously only held, that is 3 in a row, by the USA's Taylor Canfield, who won in 14, 15, and 16, although he won an additional 2 times, as Ian Williams has won any number of times too. Did he win 5 times Con Cup? Somebody will know.
I don't know.
But this is the granddaddy, the grandmammy of them all, the original big international match racing regatta, Long Beach Yacht Club's this year, the 60th edition. Bravo Zulu to them and everybody involved, the 300 volunteers they get to run this thing.
Yeah.
It's fabulous to be there and be a part of it, as I had the privilege of doing many, many years on the jury and then as an umpire. But back to the what's going on here with Chris Poole. I promised not to call him Scott Poole, who was the hockey player I coached in Ann Arbor. Chris faces stiff competition from veterans of the famous Long Beach event, including 2009 past winner Yanni Berenson's sailing team from Sweden, and Switzerland's ever-competitive Eric Monin, Catvis Swiss Match Racing, who finished 3rd last year. Current youth match racing world champion and Fozy, Cole Tapper. I think we've had Yanni Berenson on the show too, but Cole Tapper, who won last year's Gov Cup, and as well as the Youth Match Racing Worlds. And his CYCA, Cruising Yacht Club of Australia team from Sydney, also returns to Long Beach, determined to improve on their 8th place finish from last year. Long Beach Yacht Club will be represented again by Dave Hood, DH3 Racing, and we might add that Dave Hood has Taylor Canfield as his coach. And you'll ask, why is Taylor Canfield not racing? Well, as we said on Tuesday's show, he was to be racing in Rio this weekend at Sail GP Rio. That got called off because you all know the boats, they got to check the wings and beyond because of the breakage of Tom Slingsby's boat here in San Francisco. So that regatta got bypassed. The boats, in fact, Stingray told me this morning, that ship that you and Stingray have been following has now left the DR and headed to New Jersey. So presumably with the Sail GP boats on that ship headed for the next event, which is next month in New York. But Taylor, it was too late to get Taylor and Ian Williams also involved as a coach down at Taylor Sailing for the steering for the American team, skippering, and then Ian Williams, who is coaching. I've forgotten now which Sail GP team he's been coaching. You'll tell me in the chat. I was hoping they'd wedge them somehow into the back into the Congressional Cup, but that was not to be. Instead, I'm reliably informed that Taylor will be there coaching Dave Hood from the host Long Beach Yacht Club. They ought to actually increase Dave Hood's chances. He's an older gentleman. He's got some health challenges, but bravo Zulu to him. Good to see him in the event with a presumably really good coach. Here's the lineup for the Congressional Cup: Chris Poole, Riptide Racing, Yanni Berenson, Eric Monin, Rocco Attili is back from Italy, Ian Garretta from France, Cole Tapper we talked about. I hope Cole Tapper's right up there in the hunt this year. He's really had a great year.
He has.
He's coming back to Gov Cup rather. Dave Hood, the aforementioned, Bjorn Hansen from Sweden, And then the 2 entries that will qualify through this weekend's Ficker Cup. That's the 30th through the 8th of April through the 4th of May, the 60th edition of the granddaddy of them all, the Congressional Cup. And what do we have here in the chat? We got lots of chat.
Yeah.
As they have said, no Bucks, no Buck Rogers, Fritz Mueller. Yeah, good. The Danes, I actually can see a viable way out of the current less than perfect current situation. However, I'm enjoying the current. I don't know what that all means. I got to go back up to the top and read down because I'm losing the thread here. Andrew Pindar, a poignant moment and adding to the mood today it's also Revolution Day in Portugal. More recently, the 25th of April, 1974. Thanks for that, Andrew Pindar. Yeah, I saw that in the notes. As much as Gordon Smith's comment, as much as I support the current AC class in the Barcelona edition, I'm rapidly moving to the idea that the RNZ should take back control and just run a quickie AC in a standard class like a TP52 and move on from here. Yeah, maybe. Okay, we won't talk more about the Cup. May only get concrete news on June 20th, as John Emmett. Is that about the Olympics? What does that mean? Are you talking about the America's Cup? Because that's when the protocol is due.
Yeah, probably.
We'll see. We shall see. Okay, enough of that. Also today, the St. Lawrence Seaway Open, Fritz Mueller is saying. I didn't know that. I wonder what was that back in the, when did the St. Lawrence Seaway open, Julia? Was that in the 50s? 40s?
Yeah.
The locks were all built to get from the Great Lakes out to the ocean?
Yeah.
Maybe even earlier than that.
I think it was earlier, but I don't remember when.
I'm sure Fritz Mueller will put it in the chat for us, so I'm not here babbling on even more croutonically than usual. Bill Wingrove. Hello, Bill. Did you have a birthday today or yesterday, Bill? Happy birthday if you did. I think I may have seen that somewhere. Ficker and Con Cup give the best show of match racing along with Gov Cup. Thank you, Bill Wingrove, who's been a big fan of Gov Cup. That's how I got to know Bill. Oh. Blake Middleton says, no, it was 1959.
Yeah, that sounds better.
Yeah, June 20th is AC Protocol Day. Ed Worley's reminding us. Thanks, Ed and Peter Taylor. Fritz, 1959. I thought the 50s, but what do I know? That was just a wild guess and turns out to be Close. Well, it was the 50s, but more like 60s. And I've got, by the way, speaking of Ed Worley, Julia, I've got a new America's Cup history challenge, trivia challenge from Ed. I didn't get it in today's show, but we will.
Oh, good.
On Tuesday.
If we keep listening, we'll be experts.
Chris Dewar. Hello, Chris. My great-grandfather's excavation company dug a lot of the St. Lawrence. I used to love playing around on his old excavators in upstate New York.
Aha.
Wingrove was born in 59, so he's a tyke, Julie, is a youngster.
He is.
Wingrove is. Well, happy birthday to you, Bill, whatever your birthday was. Speaking of the Governor's Cup, last night, Balboa Yacht Club and the selection committee announced the invitees for this year's event, which is the last week, as usual, of July. The 58th Governor's Cup International Youth Match Racing Championship will have entrants from 6 countries. 3 of 4 2024 semifinalists are back, Jeffrey Peterson, our Fozy, having aged out. But nonetheless, 3 of the 4 semifinalists, including defending and World Youth Match Racing Champion, the aforementioned Cole Tapper of the CYCA in Australia. The Gov Cup, just to mark your calendars, is the 29th through the 3rd, 29th of July through the 3rd of August. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Cole, there is Cole Tapper and his team last year having just won the Gov Cup over Jeffrey Peterson. And the press release from last night, 11 of the 12 skippers have received invitations to this year's Gov Cup at the 58th edition. Defending Governor's Cup and 2024 Youth Match Racing World Champ, Cole Tapper is the early favorite, certainly is, after a truly remarkable year since his Gov Cup win last year.
I'm impressed. He's been doing straight lines of firsts.
Well, except he didn't win the Youth America's Cup. In fact, kind of finished in the middle from memory, but he's had a bunch of wins. He sure has. Tapper will be joined by Justin Callahan, who's also been on this show, who finished third last year. And Callahan's 2024 Petit Finale opponent, Josh Hyde. This kid is getting better and better. He's going to be a threat. Hyde, who's a Kiwi, is second only behind Tapper in the World Sailing Youth Match Racing rankings. Mm-hmm. He's also had a great year, winning, among other regattas, the Under-25 Hardy Cup in Oz.
That's a big one.
So here's some photos from last year. There are going to be 3 European entries, including Adam Leddy of Ireland, who's the current Irish youth match racing champ. Victor how do you say that?
Melchior.
Melchior, it's Danish. You sure?
No.
We'll get a phonetic spelling from Gordon Smith. But podium finisher and best youth sailor in 3 open match racing events in Denmark, including 2 podium finishers. He's an up-and-comer. And Theo Vesterland from Sweden, who will follow in his brother Marius Vesterland, another Fozy. Marius Vesterland's footsteps, a popular former Gov Cup competitor and 2022 semifinalist. Marius Vesterland is the biggest character of just about any of these kids, with 1 or 2 exceptions. But he's got bright eyes. He's full of life. I hope his brother's half as much fun and half as good a sailor as Marius is.
I remember him.
Marius is a hell of a good sailor. As is Morgan Pinckney, who along with Callahan and Hyde is a 2-time podium finisher and number 8 currently in the youth rankings, all accepted earlier invitations. Michael Kirkman from the USA, who's won the U.S. Intercollegiate Match Racing Champion. That is an automatic invitation based on that victory in 2024. Gordon Smith says it's Melchior.
Melchior.
Melchior. Where's the accent, Gordon? Melchior on the second syllable.
Melchior. It looks like, yeah. Well.
And Rose Cup in June. Yeah, there's Christine Gribben, the regatta chair for life, the esteemed regatta chair. We love Christine Gribben, and the job she does is fantastic. She's been chair of this thing for nigh on 10 years now.
Yes.
And we are also, I say we because I help out Christine and Andy Rose and the rest of the gang down there a little bit anyway, particularly with the television. But we are hosting at the end of June the Rose Cup, which is the U.S. Youth Match Racing Championship. That's being hosted again back at Balboa Yacht Club. And speaking of which, the Governor's Cup is the oldest youth, which means in world sailing terms, and we've adopted the same age range. Some people are critical of it being so old, but that's what World Sailing uses, anybody under 23 years of age. It's the oldest youth match racing championship, and I think the most prestigious in the world. It includes among our alumni many of the finest sailors in the world, led by 2-time America's Cup winners Jimmy Spithill, multiple Con Cup and World Match Racing Tour champ Taylor Canfield, and none other than your favorite sailor, Julia, Star World champion and member of both the U.S. National Sailing Hall of Fame and the America's Cup Hall of Fame, Paul Kayard.
Yeah.
Kayardini. And by the way, the Rose Cup, Christine Gribben would remind us, the Rose Cup at the end of June qualifies a sailor into the Gov Cup unless that person the winner of the Rose Cup is already qualified, in which case the second place team will qualify. So it will be another USA entry, presumably USA entry. Well, it will be from the Rose Cup at the end of June. A Rose Cup is 15 years. What's that mean, Christine? 15 years what?
Old.
That it's been going for 15. That's presumably what she means, Julia. It's been going on for 15 years. We've been going on for 10 years.
I thought it was longer than that.
No, Rose Cup's fairly recent. I mean,
the Rose Cup not named for Andy Rose.
Yeah, well, it was named for Andy Rose. He didn't give the trophy. He was pleasantly surprised when they named it after him. Richly deserving.
Yes, indeed.
Gets us to the last leg. Christine saying, 15 years. Any other comments? Okay. That gets us the last leg, and we have we promised you a preview on the upcoming Super Series, the 52 Super Series, which starts at the 2025 season next week, and have a look at this superb video of the top monohull racing, professional or otherwise, in the world. Oh, there's the last leg. There's the last leg slide, Julia. Now here's the video.
Okay.
This is not just another season. It's the most competitive year yet for the 52 Super Series history. 13 teams, 10 nations, the world's best sailors, and the fiercest rivalries. Every second count, every move matters, every mistake is punished. Power, precision, perfection, all pushed to the limit. This is the absolute pinnacle of Grand Prix monohull racing. The 52 Super Series is back, bigger, bolder and better than ever. April the 29th, Saint-Tropez, let the battle begin.
Okay, it is Saint-Tropez, as I said I speculated at the top of the show. I wasn't sure, but pretty sure.
Yeah.
Saint-Tropez, what a fabulous place to sail. I hope they have some wind. And we'll be following that series as we always do, because sails go up and down, Julia. It's amazing.
I love watching them.
Sails go up and down. There's close
and
boat to boat.
Human beings at the end of the sheets.
Exactly. Doing the work. They're on the handles. They're trimming the sails. They're steering the boat. They have a tactician advising the helm. You know, they got an owner on the boat, usually. Most of them do.
Yeah.
Love these boats. Great racing. Ted Ryman says, indeed, they are. This will be a great series. Mark Holland agrees. And one other quick note, I should say, Julia, that while I leave their sponsors up there to give them some ink, the start today, in fact, it has now started, is the Newport to Ensenada race.
Oh. From
Newport Beach, California, down to Ensenada, Mexico. I've sailed that race with our gang, with the It's Okay gang, any number of times.
Yep.
Not obviously this year. The participation is down in part because our sport is so bloody expensive, and it's not becoming less so, in part because there's some concerns about security in Mexico. But to be fair, I think Ensenada is about as secure a place. There's no cartel issues there because they need the money.
Right.
And when the sailors come, they spend plenty of money.
Right.
In, well, I won't name the various bars. Not that I would.
I was going to say, not that you know.
Not that I would know. I mean, I don't drink anymore, so why would you? Mm-hmm. But there's one other thing, Julia, going on.
Yes.
At your club, at our club here in San Francisco, 3 blocks away. Opening day on the bay is this Sunday, the 27th, and I know you love to go over there.
Sit in the sun.
Well, you sit in the sun, but then you love to hear the jazz.
Yes.
At 3 o'clock in the afternoon in the starting line room. Yes. You see it's listed there. 10 a.m., Blessing of the Fleet. 12 p.m., the Pacific Interclub Yachting Association opening day parade, a huge parade of boats. Hopefully it's nice weather up and down the bayfront. And then from 3 to 5, there is live music, a jam session at the club in the starting line room. It's one of Julia's favorite days at the club.
There are a lot of members involved who are musicians and their friends some of whom are expected and some of whom are not.
Yeah, that's true.
and it's really fun and wonderful and sort of ad lib too. So
well, and in keeping with our theme today of John Emmett started out with a beautiful spring day and how spring has sprung in Weymouth and at least here in the Northern Hemisphere. Spring is sprunging here in San Francisco, Julia.
Yes.
Our sailing season officially gets underway on Sunday with opening day on.
And I think it's going to rain.
Is it?
I think so.
No banjo music. No, there's no banjo music. But Alistair Murray says, I don't drink anymore as well, Tom, but I don't drink any less.
That's my man. I'm going to use that yes.
No banjo music. I haven't played at St. Francis in some time, but maybe again sometime soon. And Tom, no, I don't play the banjo at the jam session. I take Julie over there and we sit and listen, and she has a tequila, not a gin fizz. She has a tequila fizz.
Yes.
While I drink either a fake beer or a soda water.
Yes. Really exciting.
Well, really.
You got to watch him. He gets wild.
Opening day on the bay here in San Francisco this Sunday, the start of our sailing season. Julia, we're in the D block after celebrating a lot of cool things in our sport. Not so much the America's Cup. Gordon Smith says the spring has sprung, the grass is riz.
I wonder where the birdies is.
The grass is riz. I wonder where the birdies is.
My mother used to say that.
She did?
Yeah.
What is that from? Is that from a Broadway musical or something?
I don't know. It was I don't think it was a Broadway musical, but it was from somebody's famous poem.
Gordon, where is that? Is that a poem? Is that a Broadway musical? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Julia, we got some jokes for you today.
Uh-oh.
And no finger wags, I don't think.
Oh, okay.
I don't think. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. I think we wrap up the show. And we thank all of you for watching this show, the live stream that we do. And Greg Phillips is reminding us that you don't have to watch the live stream with your phone on. You can always call back because I'm watching a live stream. It looks like somebody from Harry Potter sitting out watching.
Maybe it is.
The live stream. Greg Phillips in Australia. The cleanest one he sent, Julia, in a long time.
I know.
And that's why I used it, because somebody wouldn't believe that Greg would send something so clean, but it's cool. It's a nice one. Now, there's a nice one. Welcome to ACE Technical Institute's TV Cable Installation course. Your instructor, Mr. Filton, will be here sometime between the hours of 9 and 5.
I love that.
Man, I don't know about you and the rest of the world, but probably the customer service, and I've had good customers. I can't complain because I've got the high-speed internet, maybe because I spend so damn much money with Comcast Xfinity, but they show up when they say they're going to show up. They do a good job. They clean up their mess. I'm quite pleased with Comcast Xfinity, but they're losing. Yesterday, their CEO, I was looking at their stock price and watching their report, and all the cable companies in the U.S. are losing because we're all going to wireless.
Yes.
People are going to get their internet from the cell system, from the phone system. They're going to get it from Starlink. Exactly, Julia. Alan Long says Riz is a newer term for, oh, damn, can't remember. Emma thinks that's Gandalf there sitting by the stream. Mm-hmm. Okay, we got another one or two of these. That from Clayton Emily. Thanks, Clayton. Between the hours of 9 and 5. This from Ryman. It's clean, but it's funny. Julia?
Yeah, if you can read this, my wife has fallen off.
I know how much you like Ryman.
I do.
Huh?
I do.
That's a good one. Ted Ryman in Cape Town, the Brit living down there in the RSA. Now, Julia, I think I showed this to you the other day, but I had to put it in the show. I'm not sure who sent it. I'm not covering up for somebody, but this I think you'll enjoy. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Officer, I'm so sorry. I know I was speeding.
What's your name?
Frida.
Your last name?
Go, ma'am.
You were free to go, ma'am?
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Now I got to play that again because everybody's probably looking at the wrong thing.
So sorry. I know I was speeding.
What's your name?
Frida.
Your last name?
Go, ma'am.
You were free to go, ma'am?
Awesome. Thank you so much.
That is, I love that. Huh? I love that.
Okay. That was, I won't say who sent that in. You're free to go, ma'am. Chris actually is rewording that jacket. I don't think we'll talk about that, Chris. But finally, we got to wrap up here with some sailing ones. This also from Clay Embley. If someone says you sail too much, get rid of them. Get rid of him or her. You don't need that type of negativity in your life.
Well, yeah, that's correct.
That is correct. You can never sail too much, right, Julia?
No.
You can't sail too much. That gets us through the funnies for today and gets us, thank goodness, to the finish line. We're an hour and 33 minutes into the show, Julia. And you like to say,
do not miss the opportunity to like, follow, and share. And if you don't know how to do it, I'll be glad to tell you.
And comments are welcome, even in replay, because we know a lot of you watch it in replay. A lot of you watch it in live, too. And our Clark Chapin's just given me the numbers for the first quarter, and the numbers keep going up, Julia.
That's good.
And particularly in April, they've gone up. So I think part of it's because we're talking about the America's Cup, and people tune in to hear about the America's Cup. But nice to have all of you with us, especially nice to have you, those who support us via Patreon, because we have expenses. We only use the Patreon money to cover our streaming costs and equipment here in the studio. And the studio continues to improve step by step, a little bit by little bit, incrementally. Thank you for your support. Thank you very much. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. Thanks, Joe Holtzman. You're very kind. Alistair Murray, you're very kind. And thanks again, Alistair, for that moving and somber AAA. Terrific stuff.
Yes.
And thank you also to everyone who gave us audio, video, and images, or they maybe don't even know that we use them, but we're using your audio, video, and images. Julia, your final thought?
I'm full of thanks to lots of people.
We all are. And we're especially thankful to all of you for tuning in. We hope to see you when Dawn is with us next Tuesday. Dawn Riley will be our guest here on Sailing Illustrated. It's usual time, 1300 Pacific. Tuesdays and Fridays, Dawn will be with us. And in the meantime, have a great rest of your weekend. Wherever in the world you are, go sailing. Sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.